This is our final entry in our 6-part series of conversations with Dr. Glen Albaugh, pioneering sports psychologist, author, and professor/golf coach at the University of Pacific, where he spent over 3 decades guiding the Tigers men's golf team to 6 NC2A tournaments. His teams also produced 9 All-Americans. Dr. Albaugh passed away in early 2023 at the age of 91, and this is our little way to honor his blessed memory. Links to his 2 books and where to make donations in his memory are in today's show notes or at our blog post at golfsmarter.com. This episode and our final conversation with Dr. Albaugh was called The 4 Pillars of Clutch Golf and originally published on July 7, 2020 as Golf Smarter number 748.
Welcome to Golf Smarter Mulligans, your second chance to gain insight and advice from the best instructors featured on the Golf Smarter podcast. Great golf instruction never gets old. Our interview library features hundreds of hours of game improvement conversations like this that are no longer available in any podcast app.
Let's talk about what you call in the book a fail-safe pre-shot routine.
The one we offer in Clutch is lock, low, fire. So you stand behind the ball and you say lock. That means you lock into the strategy that you're committed to, that fits your game. Then you walk in, same number of steps, you set up, and you load it. Loading it means that you load in the target, you load in the swing that matches what you see. And then you fire away. Those words have meanings. See, feel, trust. Think box, play box. Any word you use in a routine that connects to what you want to feel. So the routine is a starter pistol. You don't have to be 13.2 to have a routine.
With another interview from the archives of Golf Smarter, here's your host, Fred Green.
Welcome back to the Golf Smarter podcast, Glenn.
It's good to be back, Fred. It's good to be healthy enough that I can lend in and lend some stuff to our listeners.
Well, we're grateful that you are healthy enough. We originally were scheduling to have you and your co-author on the Clutch Golfer Formula, Eric Jones. We were going to have you guys on back-to-back, and Eric was on episode number 725 back in January, but you had some health issues. It made it hard for you to talk to me for a while, so we had to wait until you got stronger, and thank goodness you are. So I'm so grateful that we're here so I can talk to you again.
Thank you. It is good to be back.
It's good to be anywhere, right? It's good to be.
Yeah.
So I just want to establish a little bit, going back to the Clutch Golfer Formula. How did you and Eric meet initially? Because you really kind of come from different worlds in the sense that you're a university professor and you work on golf and the mental game, and he's a 2-time world long drive champion, but he's also a teacher of the year for Northern California PGA. How did you guys get together to put together this book?
He drove over one day in 2004. He said, "I'd like to talk to you." That's great. I think I remember your name. You might have played a little bit at Stanford. And he said, yes. And he said, "This is my vision, and I'd like to share it with you and see what you think." He said, "What I want to do, I'm leaving business, and I want to make sure that I'm going to get my Class A teaching credential from the PGA, and I'm going to get a master's in sports psychology. And I want to combine the strengths of both, and set up shop, in the golf business." And he said, "It's time. It's pretty hard to mix them up, to teach swings and teach the middle game." He says, "Well, that's my vision." Well, sure enough, Fred, I think he has done that in the programs that he's offered. He has used his information he gained from sports psychology to make him even a more effective teacher. He won me over. I'm still not teaching technique. I still, when I do work now, which is not as often as before, that's still training people in the mental game and the inner game, and so of course that's my passion. But that's how we met, And I was impressed, and we met often. He asked me if I would be his mentor, and I said sure, for sports psychology. So he came around. I was working with quite a few guys then, and he would come around, particularly the ones who were in Northern California, and watch me work, ask questions. We eventually did some workshops together. I've done many workshops for Northern Cal PGA, and I got him, talked him into coming and working there too with me on the least 6 or 8 times. So we've done a lot of things together. And he came to me one day. He said, "What do you think of this? The clutch golfer formula." I said, "Well, that's pretty interesting. Tell me more about it." And so we're going to write a book, Glenn. And okay. So away we went.
Well, thank you for doing that. Thank you for getting together, because it's a great book. It's really fascinating, and it's very helpful because of the two different approaches that you both take on this. Tell me about clutch. Let's talk about clutch. And in the book you mentioned the 4 pillars of clutch.
Yes, intention and trust and deliberate practice, and focus. The pillars are we have selected, and yes, and they're there, and they form most of what we write about is coming from that foundation of the pillars.
Well, let's break those down. Let's go through each one.
Okay, let's go with deliberate practice. It was made famous by Anders Ericsson, the Swedish researcher, who, by the way, just died 2 days ago, and he was only 72 years old.
I'm sorry to hear
who
that.
went around the world. Yeah, went around the world looking, at places, participating in sports, and he found that the people that moved and continued to improve practiced deliberately, and so that's was certainly one of our practices, really critical if you're going to become clutch and you're going to maintain your clutchness. You must know how to practice deliberately. Deliberately means with, full focus. So then trust, well, that's, as Eric claims, that you're the one to put it on the front of your book, that the perfect swinger is the one you trust. So you know something about trust. So yes, indeed. Trust is really the heart and soul of the inner game, which is really important in clutch too. It's the development of that internal feedback system, that we use when we play our best. When you really, really trust your swing, it means that you swing without thought, without any warding off any kind of interference, that would cause you to not swing the way that you wanted to. Yeah. And focus as you can focus past, present, future. You can focus intensely. You can focus less intensely. Focus is an interesting concept in that regard, because it cuts across most anything. For example, can I make an example?
I wish you would, please.
Brett Job arrived at the Bowen Classic last year, 5 strokes behind Freddie Couples. And so his focus at the time was, playing for second's okay, not too bad. But he shoots 30 on the front 9, so he gets to the 10th tee. His focus changes. I can win this damn thing. It became more determined, more direct, more intense. And then he made some routine pars, birdied 14, got the lead for the first time, and now he was really rolling. His focus was unwavering. Birdied 17, 18, win by win by 2. So there was a vivid example of how focus changes as you go through just a round of golf, as Brant did. How's that?
That is a good example. It's a very good example.
Yeah, we use that in our webinar in one of our slides. So I got that one down pretty good.
Yeah, yeah. And then number 4 pillar.
Intention, yeah.
Intention.
Right.
And that one comes up in so many conversations but I think is actually missed by so many golfers on what is your intent on this shot, right?
Well, that's one way to look at it. The intention is indeed that it's a really directed. You have to be in a present time awareness state in all of the pillars, of course. But intention is my intent today to practice, and everything I practice will be transferred to on-course play. My intention is to hit a high cut to that back right pin. My intention is to hit a low draw and hold it into the wind. My intention is to show up on time. My intention, so the intention is, we pretty much know the meaning, but it certainly is one of the pillars.
Interesting. We're gonna talk more with Dr. Glen Albaugh from the University of Pacific Hall of Fame golf coach. More on the book, The Clutch Golfer Formula, right after this. I want to talk more about clutch and what does it mean to be clutch, and why is that an important thing to have in or as somebody recently said to me, one of the quivers in your, a bow in your quiver, right? Or an arrow in your quiver. Why is clutch an important element?
Well, I think Jaime Diaz said that it was probably the most honored statement a person can make is that Fred is clutch. So what that means? That means that, when pivotal moments appear, they step into it with confidence and trust. And that's a clutch person. Now, clutch doesn't mean you win the day. It just means that you meet the novel situations that appear so often in golf with you have something in your quiver. Yeah, you are clutch. I can handle this situation.
I had a situation just the other day, and it's not something that I can usually brag about as far as being clutch, but I was in match play. I was one up in the 18th, going into the 18th hole, and I had a birdie putt that was uphill with a big break and about 18 feet. And my opponent, all he needed to do was sink about a 10-footer that was level. And I made mine and he missed his. And he was so upset with me. And it was like one of the first times I ever felt like I needed that, and I pulled it off. What did I do right, Glenn?
Wow. Well, you had intention. And, it's to be clutch doesn't mean that you always pull it off.
Yeah, right.
It just means when you got that 18-footer that has a 2-foot break in it, this means you're prepared for it. You know exactly what to do. You know how to line it up. You know how to trust your stroke. You know everything, and sometimes it goes in. During a round, you could have 6 clutch moments, or you could have one. It's not like Kevin Sutherland was on the 18th tee in 2017, the 5-par, and if he pars a hole, he's got a 1-stroke lead, he wins the Schwab Cup. So what's he do? Well, he does what he's done for 35 years. he's practiced it, and he went to the tee, and he did exactly the same thing. He keeps it really, really simple. And so that is me. So he sees a drive going over the left corner of the bunker, and he flies it, and he makes a routine par, and so he wins the 12 Cup. Doesn't mean that he is going to win the day. It just means when he gets to that situation, he is ready.
I'll take that. I was actually prepared for that putt. Yeah. But the fact that it went in was a completely different conversation. But, we talk about being in the zone. We talk about that a lot on this show. That's why we call it Golf Smarter. But we talk about the mental game and being part of that and being in the zone. But is being in the zone the same as being clutch as far as the clutch golfer formula is concerned?
So I'm gonna shoot down that some of the people, there's just way too much conversation about the zone. The zone is something that we get to at the top of the pyramid when we do everything along the way, all the stuff that we have to put in. It doesn't happen by chance. It happens because we're really prepared. And we get there, and it's a lot of fun. And we're not always there, but we're prepared for it when it happens that there's a free-flowing, floating kind of sensation that comes when we're in this proverbial thing called the zone. No, I think it's different thing. Clutch is in intention. In fact, by the way, there was a study done. Interesting. I was looking in the applied sports psychology studies, and there's a study that was talking about the flow, which is, of course, the zone. And they found, in the study of it, they found that there was another concept that appeared, and that concept was clutch. It was really interesting. We have that in a book, somewhere in the book, I know. Wow. That a clutch is you intend to be clutch. You intend to be. If we're in the zone, it just kind of happens because of all the things we've done before in preparation for it. And all of a sudden, we're in kind of a flow that we weren't in before. But clutches, we intend to be clutch. That's the difference.
Big difference. Oh, that's interesting. Well, but what about having and developing an efficient mental game? How does that impact the importance of swing technique, or even getting fitted and having the correct equipment for you? Do they complement? Do they contrast? How do we work those?
It's I know that's good. It's a good question, and because of course we know the stream of cash for the golf professionals is to sell equipment and fix your swing. And so they're going to hawk those as much as they can because that's where they make the money. But they don't make the money selling visualization or managing your emotions. But if you want to play well, you better do some stuff in your mental game as well. For example, let's say that, let's talk about practice, to deliver practice. I would say that golfers violate the principles of really good practice more than any other sports people. They stand there and they hit a bucket of 7 irons, and after 2 or 3 shots, they're working on, and actually after 1 shot, the rest of them really don't count, because when we play, Fred, we only get 1 shot at it. So let's change the way we practice. Let's make sure we call it first shot practice. And this is somebody that has a reasonable amount of skill. You get a different target. Let's say that you only can hit the ball straight. Okay, you don't have all these skills of curving the ball left to right and low and high, but you can hit it straight. So you hit a 7 iron straight at a target. Then you change and go to another target. Make sure you use your full pre-shot routine. Then you get another club, and now you get an 8-iron, or you get a 5-iron, and you change targets each time, much like we do when we play. If we hit at the same target with the same club, time after time, it's like mathematics. That Fred, what's 2 times 2?
4. Oh, that one I can do.
3 times 3.
Oh, now you're getting difficult. 9.
5 times 5.
25.
13 times 27.
I don't know.
I know.
I have to get my phone out for that.
I stole that from Adam Young, who I think is a pretty good teacher. And I stole it from him. And it's a great thing because we don't know what we're going to run into out there. So when we practice, let's practice and make our practices novel. I don't care what your skill level is. You can still change targets and change clubs. And you can still work on your technique at the same time. But anyway, I don't want to get off subject. But we started with flow and clutch. And the clutch person to really prepare for what's going to happen out there, they've got to change the way they practice. And we call it first shot practice.
I like that a lot. I'm going to think about that for a minute. We're going to take another break. We'll be back right after another sponsor. Glenn, you talked about going through your pre-shot routine, but varying your shots. And it's really interesting because, on the driving range, whether it's warming up or practicing, it's the same shot over and over and over again until you feel like you got it right. And then as soon as you get one right, you may be moving on from there, which is not really helping you that much. But what is
It's not helping you. It's not going to help you at all.
At all. Not just much, at all.
No. If indeed you're working on some technique, we were doing it just recently with the teacher of my grandson, is that you're teaching him something new, what to do in impact position. But in doing that, you still change targets and you still change clubs, even though you're teaching them a new technique. Because if you continue to hit the same shot at the same target with the same speed, it's just not rewarding. That's, by the way, 13 times 27, I do that quite often. And I had a guy the other day that answered. Right. He was able to do it in his head. Anyway, so, I feel strongly about that. That was a passion for hitting people, no matter age, no matter their skill level or their gender. Please, just put a little texture in your practice, and it's really going to help your game.
I like that. Texture in your practice. So, but let's talk about a pre-shot routine and what's the elements that create what you call in the book a fail-safe pre-shot routine.
Well, fail-safe pre-shot routine is one that we start in a certain place. You take that same number of steps as you go into your setup, and you put your club on the ball, and the time it takes to get back to the ball again should be about the same time lapse. So, but speaking about the timing of it, it needs to be the same. And then we put words. We want to use words, action phrases that connect to what we want to feel when we swing. So in the one we offer in clutch is lock, roll, fire. So those words have meaning. So you stand behind the ball and you say lock. That means you lock into the strategy that you're committed to, that fits your game. That's a good word. Then you walk in, same number of steps, 3 steps. You walk in, you set up, and you load it. Loading it means that you have the target You load in the target. You load in the swing that matches what you see. And then you fire, and you fire away. Those words have meaning. There's a lot of words that have meaning. See, feel, trust is one. Think box, play box. Any word you use in your routine that connects to what you want to feel. And then in lock, load, fire, hold, it means after you hit the shot, then you stay there for 2 or 3 seconds. You know that, man, I flushed that one. And you remember it. Well, man, that was thin. So you have some time to get back and get ready for the next shot. So the routine is a starter pistol. That's where we start. And that's where we start the game. And you can start, teachers can start, or you can ask your teacher, start helping you develop your routine at a young age. And you don't have to be, a 13.2 to have a routine. I mean, I watch the 18-year-old ladies, and they all have routines. Well, some of them do, yeah. Mm-hmm. So that's where you start the action, yeah.
I'm curious. In hearing it, I think of, like ready, fire, aim, fire, whatever. But should it be load, lock, fire? Don't you load the information into your head, lock it in, and then step up and fire? Or what am I missing here?
Well, no, it's lock, load, fire. That's the way they came up. But Eric originated that one, and I like them. The words have meaning. I don't use those myself. When I play, I use see, feel, trust. That's mine. And you can come up with whatever word you want that fits with what you want to feel. Mm-hmm. But lock has means lock in the strategy, lock in the commitment. So that's the meaning I get from lock. And load it. You go in there and you get it, you're set up, and you load it in. One of my young players I work with said it this way. And this is the example he used. He says, I'm going to go, I'm an astronaut. Okay. So the first thing I do is I open the door and I lock it. Okay. And the next thing I do is I get the fuel in. I feel it. And the next thing I do is I fire. And for him, that really had great meaning. Yeah. That was pretty simple. That was his take on it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. So many of the teachers that I talk to, and I'm not one to dispute it because I don't have the history and knowledge to do so, but so many people talk about Ben Hogan's secret. And it's pretty much on mechanics that they talk about discovering Ben Hogan's secret and try to interpret it and going through the book and finding old videos of Hogan. But you talk about Scott McCarron's secret. What's the difference between what Scott McCarron's secret is and what Ben Hogan's secret is?
Well, I don't know what Ben Hogan's secret is.
I'm not sure anybody does.
He's a great striker of the ball, and he had a really clear, present-centered mind. And Scott McCarron, he watched the seniors play. Because he wasn't even playing any golf, and when he got out of UCLA, but he saw the long putters, and he went to the garage and made one, made a long putter, and he hit a couple strokes with it. And he said, "I'm fired up." He was stoked. He turned pro, and he called me that the next day in 1992. So what's his secret? The way he practices. We listen to his podcast. It's just beautiful in regards to he does not hit the same shot twice. He does not. And there might be a circumstance where he do that if he was learning, through some adjustment in his lops out or something. But the heart of his practice was first shot. The same thing with Kurt Triplett. Same thing with Brant Joe. Same thing with Charlie Wee. Same thing for sure with Kevin Sutherland. You know, these are all good players, of course, but they all really practice in similar ways. We listen to the podcast. Julie Inkster, she might have the toughest mind of anybody I've ever talked to. Her practice is the same. It's steel trap. And so I hope I answered your question.
So you're saying that
I don't know if that's what is that? That was the secret of Scott's. No, I think the secret of Scott's was his motivation and his willingness to put in the time and the practice. You know, because he had the rough time there when he lost his card in 2012. He tried to swing the wrong way. He was a broadcaster, and he was 2 birthdays away from the senior tour. And what he tells me, he said, it, excuse me, but I'm not going to try to swing this way anymore. I'm going to swing like I was a kid again. And I'm going to have the rhythm and tempo and flow that I had then. And it didn't take long once he started doing that. And, you know the rest of the story. You know, won 11 times and a major. You know, in the 4 years he's on the... You know, those guys are not going to get to play again until September,
wow.
By the way. Sorry.
No, yeah. It's amazing. It's amazing.
So the secret, yeah. Hogan used to say the secret is in the dirt, and possibly McCarran and some of the rest, the secret's in the dirt, secret's in the practice. The deliberateness of the practice and practicing, yeah.
And not hitting one shot over and over, but getting variety into all your shots with each of your clubs. It's not like just scrape and hit on balls out of a bucket, right?
No, it's just, and it's violated all the time. There's a group of Stockton Country Club that my friend Rod Souza, the great gambler, brings some guys in, and they have play for some pretty good money. And so one day I just went down there to check them out. They're all pretty good players. And who's clutch? So we're all clutch. But if every time you go to the range, you reinvent your swing, you're on the wrong path. Mm. Yeah. Mm. And we reinvent our swing by hitting a bucket of 7-irons and videotaping every third one. Hmm. Reinventing what we do. If you're going to prepare for competition, you know, you got to first shot practice. Mm-hmm. You only get one shot, you know, Fred. You only get one.
Yep.
unless you really screw it up. Yeah. Yeah.
We call that a second swing All-American.
Well, it did. There's nothing on it. Our mind is clear, and of course, the secret then is make your mind clear for the first one, mm-hmm. and the mental game can help you. Yeah, in that regard.
And you know, but when you talk about going into competition and getting prepared for that. But what about the rest of us? What about those who don't go out there to compete, just to enjoy ourselves, have a good time? And now I'm referring back to the book, The Clutch Golfer Formula, from a 2-time world long drive champion and a professor, PhD in sports psychology. What can the 15 handicap golfer, higher, mid to upper handicap golfer get out of this book? Why is this going to be important for them to read?
Well, we really think that the people who are buying the book, the ones who buy the book are those guys at 13s and 15s, and probably more men than not than women. But we think those are the ones that really can profit, because they can profit new ways to practice. Yes, indeed, that. And the stories in there are with good players, but the stories are so applicable to everybody that plays. Look at the majority of people play for social reasons. They have some guys they play with, or the gals they play with, and they might bet a little bit, they might not, but they're there for the social reasons. And why not also, be clutch? Develop some of the skills that the clutch players have that are in the clutch book, so you can enjoy the game even more. Being clutch is not a 2-handicap or a guy on the tour. Being clutch is being able, you play once a week. Maybe you practice once a week. Those are the guys that they're definitely going to profit from the stuff that's in this book.
Awesome. Glen, I'm so glad that you're well enough again to talk to us and to share your wisdom. It is always a treat to talk to you, and I wish you good health going forward. Thanks so much for your time.
Thanks, Fred. It's right back. This was fun to talk about things I love to talk about. And so I just offer you, I just want you to remember that the perfect swing is really the one you trust. So we're going to learn more about how to trust your swing. And you're going to make more of those 18-footers.